All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty here from ChillTCG. Today, we have an incredibly exciting topic to talk about, and that is, of course, going to be the massive balance update that's coming tomorrow on October 20th. The game is changing completely. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here. They're nerfing lots of different Pokemon. They're buffing some Pokemon. They're also doing some overall changes to the mechanics of how the actual competitive game works. So super excited to go into this. We're going to go through everything right now. This will go into effect for this patch, which will be coming October 20th. That's the Halloween patch. So when Greedent comes out, when all the Halloween stuff comes out, there's also going to be a massive balance patch. So the game's going to look completely different. So we're going to go through each one of those today. Going to give my my input on it and just let you guys know kind of what I think is going to come. We do have some other updates on Greedent. I'm not going to probably put that in this video, but Greedent is going to be actually a defender. I thought he was going to be an all-arounder, so I was wrong. He is actually a defender. He looks super interesting, so I'm really interested to kind of see how he plays. We'll make some content on Greedent for sure when it comes out tomorrow and whatnot. But for now, let's go over these balance patches. So Pikachu is going to be buffed. Now, this buff here on Pikachu, I don't think it's going to be super substantial. If we take a look here, Thunder Shock and Volt Tackle are both going to get their damage increased. So this means a few things, right? Pikachu is already a really strong Pokemon in the early game. He's got probably the best attack range in the entire game. His damage output early game is honestly top tier, but he falls off really dramatically late in the game. We don't know exactly what the details are, of course, of this of this change here, these buffs. So I mean, Thunder Shock is going to do increased damage, Volt Tackle will do increased damage, but to be honest, these weren't kind of the moves that we were running on Pikachu anyway. We were running Electro Ball. So they might buff these two moves to be the most preferred way to play Pikachu, and he might be playable at that point. But if they're not buffing Electro Ball or the other moveset, then, overall, he's probably not going to still be great late game. He's probably still going to have the same issues. His Unite move hasn't been buffed. His scaling hasn't been buffed. At least that's not what we've seen here. But Pikachu, these Thunder Shock, Volt Tackle, they're going to be getting buffs. He's going to be doing more damage with those attacks, potentially making that line of play a little bit more viable when you're playing Pikachu. Probably not going to make Pikachu that much more viable himself, but you never know. It could be a really big buff. We'll have to see. Next up, Slowbro's been adjusted. Amnesia has some ability changes, and the cooldown time is going to be reduced, and the HP recovery will be increased. So this, again, most people at a high level when they're playing Slowbro are going to be playing that telekinesis build mainly for its, usefulness, right? Just being able to kind of pick off specific Pokemon, take them out of the battle, teammates focus on it. It's really good. It's probably the preferred way to play Slowbro. However, I think that Amnesia does have a lot of potential. It's still pretty good at the moment, but now it's going to have more reduced cooldown time, so we can pretty much be spamming Amnesia, which is going to increase our next Surf or Scald. It also increases our defenses, I believe, when we use it. So that's going to be nice. The HP recovery is increased when we use it as well. So again, Telekinesis is really good, but Slowbro's damage output is actually quite decent in its own right. It might just end up being where now maybe we just run Amnesia Slowbro and he's that much more of a threat. This is very interesting. This Slowbro adjustment is very interesting. I didn't really feel like Amnesia needed a buff, but I think maybe that makes a little bit sense if everybody was playing Telekinesis. So you never know. Could be really good. We'll have to see. I'm super interested about this. Slowbro is one of the, I guess, most underrated characters in the game in terms of his overall usefulness, but now his damage output and his sustain might be a little bit higher as well, so that might be a bigger reason where we might see more Slowbro, and I think that could be super cool. So that's the only change for Slowbro, but here's a really big one and a super interesting one. Gengar got a pretty sizable nerf in my opinion, and they just buffed his stat, I guess like I guess the overall, like I don't want to say passive for Gengar, but just kind of like his overall kit, I suppose. From level 5 and onward now, damage and recovery will convert with the same value. So this is absolutely insane, basically, what this means. And this could make Gengar by far the best character in the game. If the damage output he puts out is the exact same amount as the HP he's recovering, this could make Gengar incredible, right? I think the big issue with Gengar right now is he doesn't have the best burst damage by far out of any of the speedsters. In fact, I would say right now he's kind of the worst. But he does have a lot of things going for him. His health drain with Dream Eater is really good. Hex is still pretty powerful. He's got great mobility. The only problem with him is like his burst damage, the amount of damage he does over a set period of time, doesn't scale well enough with how much HP he has. So now his burst damage might not be as high as Talonflame or Zorora, I suppose, or maybe even Absol, but perhaps he's going to be able to stay in the battle longer, and then that'll drag out that length of time where he's able to do that damage kind of, not slowly, but in like small little bursts, right? Now you might get like 1 or 2 hexes, 3 hexes before you die, but now you could just be hexing away for 4, 5, 6 times and still be alive because of this buff here, where the damage and recovery will convert with the same value. This could be insane. Gengar might be back, everybody. He was the best speedster in the game when he came out. He was absolutely insane. They nerfed him down to oblivion. He was bottom tier. Now, I think, hopefully he's balanced. Hopefully he's viable. So now, you know, in these Master Rank matches, when people are picking Gengar, they might not be struggling the whole time. That would be really good. But at the same time, I don't want him to be as broken as he was early on when the game first came out. However, Gengar buff, very interesting. This one, perhaps, is my favorite balance change out of the entire patch notes here. Blastoise is getting quite a sizable nerf, a lot of balance changes to Blastoise. So, Hydro Pump, the damage is reduced. I think this is great. Hydro Pump already is a really useful move. It's got a wide area effect. It comes out pretty quickly, and it pushes opponents away. It can stun them if they push against a wall, things like that. Paired with Surf, it can be extremely annoying, but right now, as it is, Hydro Pump does an insane amount of damage on top of that pushback. So, one of the best moves in the game, in my opinion. I think it does way too much damage at the moment. So, the damage reduction for Hydro Pump, definitely good to see. Water Spout, the cooldown is reduced, so this means that more people might be running Water Spout, just because they're going to be able to have it out later. Hydro Pump got nerfed. So, again, I think some balances, they're making Water Spout better, Hydro Pump worse. Might even that out, but overall, I think Hydro Pump definitely needed the nerf. And the big one here as well for Blastoise is Hydro Typhoon. Now, this is his Unite move. And his Unite move, the damage is reduced. So, I think this is really important. I think Blastoise had perhaps the best Unite move in the entire game. Has a massive area effect. It comes out quickly. It stuns opponents, jumps them up in the air for like a full second. But it also does incredible damage, just like Hydro Pump, for no good reason, honestly. So now, I think if the damage is reduced to a good amount for Hydro Typhoon, it'll still be a useful Unite move for sure, right? It'll give you the shield, increase your movement speed, it'll pop everybody up in the area. Can still be really useful, just might not be as broken, hopefully, with that damage reduction to Blastoise's Unite move. So Blastoise got some sizable nerfs. I think Hydro Pump and Hydro Typhoon were very, very good moves. Now with the damage being reduced, Blastoise is going to feel a little bit more like a defender, where right now he seems to be kind of like a super tanky attacker. That's kind of how he feels, in my opinion. They didn't touch Surf, though. I think Surf is pretty balanced. Venusaur nerfed. This is, now these two, okay, you guys see it on the screen. These two are probably going to be the ones that I never even expected them to do, to be honest. But they're here. Venusaur and Lucario, the two best Pokemon in the game, in my opinion, have been nerfed. So let's take a look at the Venusaur's nerf first. Giga Drain. HP recovery is decreased. So right now, the way that Giga Drain works with Petal Dance and Venusaur, the reason Venusaur is so broken is because Petal Dance is a great move, does nice damage over time, increases your movement speed, but the main thing is it pairs perfectly well with Giga Drain, because while you have Petal Dance active, when you Giga Drain, the more HP you recover from Giga Drain, the quicker the cooldown it becomes with Giga Drain. So now you're not going to be recovering as much HP. It's the cooldown time isn't going to be reduced as much. So pretty much a very solid nerf, I think, to Venusaur. He's still probably going to be pretty tanky. I just think he's not going to be as broken in terms of overall damage output. Well, damage output will probably be the same, actually, but his survivability will be less, and I think that's really important with Venusaur. He was always a character that did incredible amounts of damage, but he was really squishy. He didn't have great mobility. With the recent buffs, last patch to Petal Dance and Giga Drain, not only was his damage output crazy, but his survivability and his mobility were also through the roof, which made Venusaur probably the best Pokemon in the entire game. So now I think with the HP recovery reduced with Giga Drain, that's going to make him a lot more balanced, hopefully. The one interesting thing, though, is they actually buffed Solar Beam, and this is very interesting to me, because right now, Solar Beam still feels like it does an insane amount of damage. They're further increasing the damage done by Solar Beam, so I think they're doing this to kind of wane people off of the Giga Drain Petal Dance build. I still think you could run Giga Drain, if I'm being honest, but the Solar Beam playstyle for Venusaur is going to be a lot more viable. It already does insane damage, so I honestly don't think Venusaur is going to go down to like a mid or low tier. I think people are just going to change the way they play Venusaur drastically. He's going to stay in the back, shoot out Solar Beams. Either way, he's going to still do insane damage. He's just going to be doing it a little bit differently. So watch out for those Venusaurs after the balance patch. Solar Beams will be flying around, and they're going to be doing an insane amount of damage. I promise you that. Next up, though, is going to be Lucario, and this is probably the biggest change to the overall meta in the entire game. Lucario's been nerfed. His basic attack has decreased in damage. And basically what this means is like just his normal attacks don't do as much damage, and I think that's kind of like a big thing with Lucario is after you use an ability, you do with the basic attack, you do some good damage, pop them up in the air with that third strong hit, and then you can use your next ability and then do it all over again. It's a really powerful loop. I think that the stun on that at the moment is a little bit hardcore for the amount of damage that he does. I personally like to run the Power Punch build, you know, Power Up Punch build with, what else do I run on it? I run Bone Rush, of course. So that the stun with all of those is really crazy. It's just a really good one-on-one mechanic for Lucario, but I think the damage output being reduced definitely going to be important for sure. But the biggest thing with Lucario, which I think a lot of people are going to be happy about, is his steadfast passive ability, which if you didn't know, pretty much grants him a sizable shield whenever he drops below half HP, and that's insane. Pair that with Focus Sash, in his Unite move, which also gains him a shield, he just becomes incredibly difficult to kill. And this is why right now at high level in the meta, you actually see Lucario going solo top lane because he can just lane himself. He's perfectly fine just being himself in lane because he's that powerful, that hard to kill. Now, I think with his overall damage output being reduced, on top of his steadfast passive ability, the frequency of it, the cooldown for it being increased, the frequency of activation is decreased. So this just means that the cooldown is extended. You can't just like go to half health, get the shield, go heal up, and immediately go back to half health and have that shield. So you're probably going to have to time that a little bit better. Lucario still probably going to be a very solid character, not going to lie. I think he's not going to be bottom tier at all. I think he's still going to be very solid, but he might not be the best character in the game anymore. I definitely don't think so, and for that reason, I think that's going to overall change the top-level meta more than anything else in this entire game. So all those Lucario mains who try to carry in solo queue master ranks, you're probably going to have to find a different Pokemon to be playing. Maybe not, though. We'll have to see big nerfs to Lucario, and I think that that's super, super important. Venusaur and Lucario balance changes is just absolutely insane. Very glad to see it, though. Very, very glad to see it. They were very top tier. Very, very top tier. And last but not least, our boy Garchomp gets a buff. And this one, we don't have all the details yet. We're really going to have to see how much of a difference these buffs make to Garchomp. But they're really good, and they sound really good at least. So, his standard attacks, right, his basic auto attacks, the attack speed is increased. To me, Garchomp already feels like he has a really fast basic attack, especially the higher level he gets. You run a muscle band on this thing, and he's just shredding away. He's pretty much like an absolute beast. I don't know how to explain it. Level 15 Garchomp is very scary. Now that standard attack speed is going to be further increased, so that might really help him at the earlier levels when his attack speed isn't that great at the moment. So that's going to be good. I think that's kind of what you needed. Also, Garchomp is a character that is completely based around his stacks building up with his auto attack. So you attack faster, you build your stacks faster, and you're doing massive damage faster. So this really, really could be a massive change to Garchomp. Depending on how fast they increase his attack speed, it could make him insane. It really could, especially paired with this other buff that he got, which is going to be Dragon Rush, and the damage is increased. So I think Garchomp also was lacking a little bit slightly in his burst damage potential because I think the payoff for Garchomp is supposed to be high. He's definitely not amazing early game, and especially not in lane. He definitely struggles as like Gibble and Gabite slightly, so that's something that could be a little bit tough. But when you're level 10 or level 11, whenever you evolve with Garchomp, you definitely want that payoff to be high, right? You want him to be a beast when he's finally a Garchomp. His burst damage at the moment just feels a little bit low and lackluster, especially since it takes so long to build up those stacks as well. He's kind of like an AD, like Cinderace or Greninja, except he's melee, and that just doesn't really work out well in the game. So that's buffed, but Dragon Rush, the damage is increased, and this is going to increase his burst damage, I think. Paired with Dragon Claw, that combo is really cool. It's a really cool mechanic in the game. I think the mobility on it's great. The burst damage is great. It really makes him a great ganker, and that's kind of why he's pretty useful in the jungle. But I think with his standard attack speed being increased and Dragon Rush having increased damage, meaning that his basic auto attacks do more damage, and his burst damage is going to be better, I really think that Garchomp might become pretty viable in this next kind of meta. We'll have to see what these changes really are, right? We don't have any numbers here. We don't have any statistics, so there's no way to really know if any of these Pokemon are going to be affected drastically. But at least it's good to know that some things are changing, and at least they're trying to make Garchomp better. I think he's this close to being a really, really good character, so really excited for the Garchomp buffs. Some bug fixes as well. Zorora's Wild Charge bug before it caused more damage. That unexpected. that was unexpected when hitting multiple Pokemon. And this kind of happened with Wild Charge. It's supposed to be a single target attack, but sometimes it targeted multiple Pokemon and did absurd damage. That's going to get patched out, which is nice. Lucario's Aura Cannon bug fixed before the damage increased after using Power Punch. So, yeah, I mean, the mechanic was supposed to be that after you use your Unite move with Aura Sphere, Aura Cannon, whatever you want to call it, your next Power Punch is supposed to be buffed in terms of damage, but it's not supposed to go the other way around. You're not supposed to be able to Power Up Punch and then Aura Sphere and do crazy damage, so that's patched out as well. Pretty much another nerf to Lucario. Cramorant's dive bug was fixed before Cramorant may not be displayed correctly after the move is used. This is kind of more of like one of those wonky kind of visual things that they fixed, which is nice. Talonflame, Gale Wings bug fixed. So before, the effect was not activated when you're returning after being KO'd. Gale Wings, I believe, is Talonflame's passive. So this is actually a buff to Talonflame. His passive will remain active after you get KO'd now. I didn't know really the details of that bug at right now before this patch came out, but that's going to get fixed, making Talonflame that much better. And I think Talonflame after this balance patch is probably going to be pretty solid. Before we get into the other changes, which in my opinion are kind of the bread and butter of this entire balance change, now that some characters are getting nerfed and others are getting buffed, it indirectly buffs or nerfs other characters in the game. So for instance, since Lucario is not going to be able to solo top lane anymore, or probably not, that makes Pokemon that otherwise would be really good in the top lane better, right? And vice versa, things like that. So indirectly, the meta is going to shift drastically between Pokemon that are viable. We'll have to see. It's going to be very interesting. I can't wait to kind of make a tier list after I have hands-on with a lot of the Pokemon in this new balance patch. Okay, so moving on to the meat and potatoes. I know I said bread and butter, but now meat and potatoes of this entire patch. And that is going to be the balance changes to Zapdos, Drednaw, and Rotom. And these mechanics, these objectives are kind of the very core of how this game works. So I think this is super, super interesting. First off, Zapdos, the amount of Eos energy that can be obtained during the KO has decreased. So after you KO Zapdos, everybody on the team that just KO'd Zapdos gets a bunch of Eos energy in their pockets. So they can just run and score a bunch of points. Now that's decreased. So that's going to be decreased, which is interesting. So there's still going to be double points, still insta-scoring on goals, but it's not going to award that much Eos energy. Could make a difference. It really could, right? Especially with double points. Right now, if everybody's going and scoring, let's say 40 points after Zapdos, that's 80 each, and that can really add up. But now if that becomes 50 or 60 each, that could be 100 or 200 Eos energy scored less, right, at the end of the game. That really could make the difference. I think this is a pretty slight nerf to Zapdos, but I think we'll see that it actually feels really good. I think that Zapdos doesn't need a lot of balance changes. I think people really hate on Zapdos a lot, but I think it's really important to kind of, gather at the biggest objective in the game and play it properly. It's part of the game, so you got to play around it. Now it won't feel as bad when it comes to, winning by 400 and then losing by 200 in a split second. That might be a little bit different now. The comeback potential slightly decreased with Zapdos, but not anything super crazy. I don't think. We'll have to see, though, how that works out. The biggest one to me, and this, in fact, is actually the most important thing of the entire balance patch, is going to be Drednaw. They are nerfing Drednaw. The amount of shields given to friendly teams when KOing Drednaw has been reduced. So right now, when you KO Drednaw, you do get, your entire team gets XP, but you also gain a shield, everybody. And that combo between the XP and the shield pretty much means that you're guaranteed to win your next team fight. Can really cause the game to snowball. So for that reason, nerfing the shield, pretty cool, but at the same time, they're also decreasing the amount of experience that everybody gains after Drednaw is defeated. That's crazy. So Drednaw's shield given and XP given is being nerfed. Depending on how much this is actually a nerf, how much they decrease the XP. In my opinion, the XP is a little bit more important. Depending on how much these decrease after you KO Drednaw, the entire game could be different. Because if Drednaw isn't that much more important than Rotom in the long run, the entire meta is going to change at a high level. Solo queue games are going to change. No longer will you just lose the game instantly if your team never commits to Drednaw. Now you might have a chance because Drednaw might not be that much more better than Rotom, and your team might be getting Rotom if the other team is getting Drednaw, right? So that's kind of the deal. So massive Drednaw nerfs. It seems massive to me. We'll have to see how much that nerf in the stats are really decreased on the Drednaw KO. We'll have to see. I'm definitely really interested to see about that, though. I think it could be a massive change. Next up, Rotom got buffed. So Drednaw got nerfed, but Rotom got buffed. Rotom, after KOing Rotom, the movement speed, HP, and attack to reach the opponent's goal has been increased. So now, right now, when you get Rotom, he doesn't really do anything. You have to escort him pretty much to the opponent's goal. He doesn't really help out that much. He doesn't have a lot of HP. Doesn't have a lot of really attack that he's putting out. Now, if they buff that significantly, not only will he move faster, but he's going to be much more useful to your team while you're trying to push that top lane after you get Rotom. So this could be really important. If Rotom actually becomes useful in pushing the tower, then this could be massive, right? Getting Rotom might guarantee you the tower, just like Drednaw literally guarantees you the tower if you get Drednaw, because you guys have been buffed so heavily, right? So that's a really, really big difference. Very, very important as well. Also, the effect time when the goal area is broken has been extended. Basically, what this means is that after it hits the goal, that effect where the goal becomes instant scoring is longer. I don't know exactly how long it is now. I think it's like a full minute. Maybe it's going to be a minute and a half now. Who knows? Again, another buff to Rotom. So Zapdos, slight nerf. Drednaw, pretty sizable nerf in my opinion. And Rotom, a pretty sizable buff. So I think this is going to make overall the game incredibly different. So if top and bottom lane objectives, Rotom and Drednaw, are both pretty even in sort of their viability, we're going to have to change the way we play this game, honestly, because now it really becomes 2v2, 2v3, 3v2 in any lane, and no longer 5v5 in one particular lane. So super interesting. We'll have to see. We don't know if the game is going to change that much. These nerfs might not be that substantial. We have to see. Like, we have to see. That's all I'm saying. We'll wait. We'll figure it out. We really only have a day until this patch goes into effect. So lots of content I'll be making, covering all this new stuff, covering new strategies, the new Pokemon, new balance changes, new builds, new tier lists, things like that. I'm super excited. I'm recently pretty new to making Unite content, but I'm really excited. I've been waiting for the next big balance patch to release because this gives me the opportunity to kind of start fresh in this new meta and begin making content. So I'm really, really excited for that. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I've been Matty from ChillTCG. If you guys like the content, if you guys want to see more Unite content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Stay tuned. It'll be coming. We also stream pretty regularly now. Pokemon Unite. Very, very happy about how those have been going as well. So we're going to get out of here, guys. Have a great day. Peace out. I don't know what else to say. I'm terrible at ending videos, but I appreciate you guys watching, and stay tuned because there'll be a lot of content coming around the corner. All right, guys, peace out. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.